Good evening. Welcome to the first installment of The Storyteller's Goddess. I'll be sharing stories of the goddess that I find in different books. This particular story that we're going to share tonight is from the book called The Storyteller's Goddess, and it's about the goddess Kali, who is a figure in Indian culture. We'll be hearing stories of goddesses from various cultures, and tonight the story is about Kali. Kali is known as the destroyer. However, she is also the goddess that's connected with menstrual blood. And just as menstrual blood comes out, destroying the ability for an egg to be fertilized for that cycle, Kali is intricately connected to the cycles of life. The story we're going to hear tonight is the story of death. I think this will be a comforting lesson for us to contemplate tonight, based on all the people who have passed away from the coronavirus, which I really feel is a part of a mass exodus. Just like there's a mass entrance, maybe we have babies, hundreds of babies that are born at the same time, like during the baby boom. We could also have spirits that are leaving at the same time, and perhaps they are part of the same soul family, and so they're leaving together, not having to leave alone. Just another way to consider what's happening right now. So, tonight, the story of death. There is not room enough, the people were crying. There is not room! It was true. Plants were so thick on the forest floors that the strongest knives could not cut the paths through them. Corn and rice grew so high in the fields that they towered like trees over the people. People had not enough to eat in those times because no one died. Babies came and grew bigger and bigger, but people did not get old, and they never left the earth. That was when the goddess Kali turned over in her sleep the people's cry. "There's not enough room," became part of her dream. But she must have been ready to awake, because the next cry, "There's not enough room," woke her, and she sat up. "You disturb my sleep," she bellowed, rubbing her eyes with her fists. "There's not enough room," the people cried. Kali drew on her robes. She walked to her window and threw open she walked to her window and threw it open to look out on the world. She put her dark hands on the sill and leaned out, her black hair ruffled in the wind. What she saw made her draw back into her room. She saw crowds of people piled on each other, none of them old, all of them clawing and elbowing each other to get at vats of food, in the buildings cramming together so tightly it was hard to see the sky. Animals swarmed through the throngs. The air was hot with sweat and perfume and soil. Kali, inside, licked her lips. Her hands went to her hips. "Time!" she yelled. Her servant Time came running. "Bring me my red sari," she ordered. Time brought the garment, dark as the color of blood. Kali threw off the gray robes of her sleep and fastened the red about her. "Clothe yourself," she said to her servant. "We are going out, and bring me my jewels." Time did as she bid. He took up her gray robes for himself and put on shoes the shape of fish. Then he brought Kali her necklace glinting with skulls. "Take these," Kali said, and she thrust gifts wrapped in golden paper into Time's hands. "Now, call my chariot." The chariot came, pulled by 8 white stallions and 8 black mares. Fire leapt from its wheels when Kali and Time climbed to the platform. With a loud cry, Kali raised her hand and let loose the rein. The horses smoked across the distance to earth. Before each village, Kali drew in the rein. Her servant Time jumped from the chariot and handed the gold-wrapped gifts to people who crowded at each stop. In each package, the people found Kali's gifts: spider webs, dust, decay, mold, worms, rust, mushrooms, crumbling, rot, mildew, the smell of rich earth, aging. It was on that day that crops knew more than just blooming and growing. They knew also the withering that returned them to the soil. It was on that day that the plants of the forest floor began to add to the blackness of soil so the trees could grow. Animals and babies. Animals had babies, but now the babies grew old. Humans too began to age. They also began to die, so there would be room for their children. Kali and her servant Time returned to her palace exhausted. She fell, still crimson clothed, across her bed. Time undressed her gently and tucked her under the covers. Kali is the goddess who dances at funerals and sometimes stops babies from being born. Kali still rides with her servant Time. Since that first trip, though, Time has carried his own presence. Time gives people the gift of white hairs, and he wraps them carefully in the gold paper of wisdom and acceptance. One of the things that I love about contemplating nature is the fact that nothing is wasted in nature. Everything lives, grows, and dies. There are organisms made only for decomposition and decomposing life. And just like leaves fall off the trees and disintegrate and decompose and become a part of a rich soil, such is the same with life. And so we must have a time for death and a time for life.